المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Uh, we are the Department of Civil and Architectural Engineering. We provide this presentation about the civil engineering program just to provide information for current and for starting students and future students, inshallah. The contents of this presentation, as you can see from the screen, I start by giving information about the Civil and Architectural Engineering Department and the undergraduate program in civil engineering. Then I move to provide information about the topics within the civil engineering and looking at the different components of civil engineering, looking at structural engineering, technical engineering, environmental engineering, construction engineering, and pavement and transportation. I did not introduce myself. My name is Mohammed Hussein. I'm the head of Department of Civil and Architectural Engineering. And as you can see that every component will be discussed by one of the colleagues in the department who has specialty in one of these areas. So the next slides will give quick information about the Department of Civil and Architectural Engineering. At the department, we offer 3 different programs in civil engineering. The first program is an undergraduate program ending with a Bachelor in Science. Then we have 2 other programs for postgraduate students. The first one leading to master degree, and the second one leads to PhD in civil engineering. We are proud that our undergraduate program in civil engineering is ABIT accredited, and we are proud to be the first teaching department at Qatar University to do the effort towards the ISO certification for our lab. This gives a quick idea about the study plan of the civil engineering undergraduate program, where students have to take 131 credit hours. All the information is available in the website, but just quickly talking about the main components of the civil engineering program and the courses. So to graduate, a student should finish 131 credit hours to complete the major in civil engineering. Out of these 131, the student should complete 33 credit hours in core curriculum requirements, then a minimum of 27 credit hours in college requirements, then 56 in major requirements, 12 in technical electives, and 3 in additional science electives. The mode of studying, classroom with laboratory activities, but currently online. So I will hand over now to Dr. Wael Nahal to talk about the first component in the civil engineering program, which is about structural engineering. So over to you, Dr. Wael.
Thank you, Dr. Muhammad. At the beginning, I would like to welcome everybody to this session about information about the different topics at Department of Civil Engineering. My name is Wael Nahal, and I'm Associate Professor in Structural Engineering. Today, inshallah, I'll give a brief about structural engineering. Actually, like structural engineering has existed since humans first started to construct their structures. And it's one of the core branches in civil engineering. In structural engineering, we ensure that buildings, structural or non-structural building, that we build them to be strong enough, not to fall, to make them stable enough to resist all applied structural loads. When we are talking about loads, we are talking about different types of loads. We are talking about static loads. We are talking about dynamic loads. When we are talking about static loads, we are talking about dead load, live load, rain, snow. So we have to make sure that our structure will sustain different kinds of loads. When we are talking about the dynamic loads, we are talking about earthquake, wind load, and other types of the dynamic loads. As well, we need to make sure that our structure also will have enough stiffness in order to not deflect or vibrate more than the allowable limit. And when we are talking about structures, we are mainly have two types of structure, like building and non-buildings. So as a structure engineer, it's expected that you will be exposed to buildings, different types of buildings, starting from, for example, residential houses, hospitals, schools, commercial buildings, malls, and non-buildings, if you're talking about bridges, tunnels, dams. So all these different types of structures are the responsibility of a structural engineer. So in other words, like our main objective as structural engineers will be to make sure that you have a building that will not does not fall down under the load, or you have a bridge that doesn't fall as well. Next slide, please. So for structural engineer, you are going to deal mainly with different structural elements. We are talking about beams, columns, slabs, trusses. So like at the early stage, like when you're after graduation, you mainly will be responsible to do the design for individual elements. After that, you will be, when you have the more experience, when you are a more experienced engineer, you will maybe be responsible for the structural design and the integrity of the whole system. So what does a structural engineer do? We first do the design. In order to do a proper design, first of all, we need to do a proper analysis. And then after completing the design, then the next stage is to make sure that our design will be constructed in proper way. If we need to talk about, for example, what are the major employers for structural engineers, and if you look around you here in Qatar, you will find that many opportunities for structural engineers. We're talking about engineering consultancies, local authorities like we have here, Ashghal, we have the oil and gas companies, we have the Ministry of Municipality and Environment, Qatar Rail, engineering contractors, as well. Like when you gain the experience, even you have the opportunity to do your own company. Like for us as structural engineers, always it's important to emphasize this point. Like after gaining some experience, you can create your own work. Like you'll be your own boss. You can create your own company. You can do your own work yourself, which is really not available in other maybe disciplines. One more thing, like when we are talking about structural engineering, also you are going to deal with different types of materials. Yeah, you are not going to just study concrete structures. Here we are talking about concrete, we are talking about steel. Also, you will be aware how to design like even wood structures, masonry structures, different composite structures, different types of structures. So all these are among the responsibilities of a structural engineer. And as a structural engineer, you can work on site, you can work in an office as a consultant. You can do like, for example, the drawings themselves. You can be responsible for checking the drawings. You can, for example, making sure that on the site that all the structural drawings will be implemented on the site in an efficient way. So there are like really like many opportunities for you as a structural engineer. Dr. Muhammad, next slide, please. Okay, so as I mentioned before, like in our study plan, you will find that we have like about 5 to 6 courses related to structural engineers. We start with engineering statics in order to take the fundamental about equilibrium, types of forces, how to deal with forces in 2D, 3D. So you will deal with the statics. After that, you make sure that after having the fundamentals, we move to strength of materials and how to do the proper analysis for structures. And the next stage will be about how to do a proper design, mainly here in our university at our Department of Civil Engineering. We are talking about mainly steel structures and concrete structures. But if it happens that you need to design other types of structures, it's the same concept. So you will be equipped to do the design regardless of the material that you are going to use for the design. Of course, like I have to emphasize that also we have 2 elective courses that you can pick related to structural engineering. Next slide, please. We have at the Department of Civil Engineering the facilities to run like different tests related to structural engineering on both levels, like for the undergraduate level and for the graduate level. When we talk about the undergraduate level, so we have our structural lab that we can do different mechanical testing for concrete, for steel, related to tensile capacity, compression capacity, and also on the graduate level, if you look at the pictures here on this slide, you will find that there are many projects related to the structural engineering that right now we are working on, and it's related to students in their master and PhD program. And I do believe like we have also a structural lab in the engineering workshop that we can test beams and slabs as well. For the faculty members in structural engineering, we have 5. We have Professor Muhammad Al-Ansari. He's specialty in concrete structures. Myself, Dr. Nasr Naimi, also his specialty in composite structures, concrete structures. Professor Osama Abed, and his specialty in strengthening of concrete structures, and our department head, Dr. Muhammad Al-Ansar, Dr. Muhammad Hussein, and his specialty in like vibration and like the interaction between like soil structural interaction and health monitoring as well. So like I want to emphasize on one more thing before ending my presentation. Like for us as structural engineer, it's really very interesting that you can see your ideas become reality. Like there's nothing, to be honest with you, like from my experience, there's nothing quite like seeing a project that you designed or even worked on in the site, and this become part of the world around you. And this project will stay for sometimes like 50 years, even if you, for example, imagine yourself like you were working on Qatar Rail project. This project will stay for 100 years. And I'm pretty sure you're going to be proud that you are part of such a project. So always think about that. Our ideas, really, as structural engineering, will become reality, and our work will last for a long period of time. And also, like we have a mission that our work lasts and will make our world safer, much safer. And at the end, I wish you all like a successful semester, and thank you very much for listening. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Muhammad.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wael. Next, we have Mr. Shakir talking about geotechnical engineering.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mohammed Al Shafi. I'm a geotechnical engineer. I'm also an associate professor here at the Department of Civil and Architectural Engineering. There has never been a more exciting time than being a civil engineer. If you're in any doubt, just look around you here in Doha. It's like a huge construction site, huge amount of activity everywhere. Equally, there has never been a more exciting time than being a geotechnical engineer. Now, geotechnical engineering is this part of engineering that deals with the ground. So any structure that is going to be built anywhere in the world eventually needs to have its foundations on the ground or in the ground. And this is what we try to understand through geotechnical engineering. So what do? We take samples from the ground, test these samples in the lab, we try to understand them very well, and then we can go back and we can do some calculations to make sure that whatever we want to build can stand up and can stay there for many, many years. In a way, we are like doctors. So doctors, when they want to check the human body, what do? They have small syringes, they take some blood from you, they go and test that blood, and they come and tell you stories about what is happening inside. This is exactly what we do, but we do it with the soil, with the ground. You go next slide. Now, once you've done that, once you've understood what you are dealing with in terms of the ground underneath your feet, you can do all sorts of exciting structures. So you can see the picture at the top. This is part of the Doha Metro. This is part of Qatar Rail. What you are seeing is that a huge machine, it's like a small little mold that goes into the ground and it digs that hole so that the tunnels can then run through it. The picture underneath, this is the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Now, if it wasn't for geotechnical engineers, monuments like this would not be able to stand up for many, many years. It was about to fall. By understanding the ground underneath that structure, geotechnical engineers managed eventually to stop it from moving and save it so that everyone can enjoy it for many, many years to come. You go to the next slide. So if you had the opportunity to blow all the ground underneath your feet, eventually, now Doha has just started putting in metro tunnels under the ground. It's only going to continue. Once you start digging into the ground, it is never going to stop because more and more people come and live in cities. The population expands. They want to travel more. There is no space above the ground, so the only solution is to go under the ground. And it can get very congested very quickly. The picture that you see at the top is a model. This is a computer model from London. If you look underneath your feet, it can get really complicated. But as geotechnical engineers, we have all the technology to deal with that. We make sure that these do not clash with each other. It's all very high tech. You actually simulate all that in a nice computer. And once you've done all the simulations and you've done all the calculations, you can translate that into the picture that you see underneath you. So what you see is basically someone with a small joystick, just like what you use for your PlayStation, and they control the concrete and how it actually is being spread onto the soil so that you can create these beautiful cavities. These cavities are all for tunnels eventually to run through. So if you decide to become a civil engineer, and within civil engineering, if you decide to study geotechnical engineering, you will have the ability to do all of this. Next slide. There are a number of classes that you can take within the study plan that you can see in front of you. These are spread over the years to give you the right amount of information at the right time. If you go to the next slide, we also have a number of lab facilities. This is when you take all the samples, you bring them to the lab, and then you study them in great detail. Next slide. So we've got 3 members of staff, part of the geotechnical engineering group within the civil engineering department. We've got Dr. Umar Al-Ansari, Professor Hisham Eid, and myself. We will be very excited to have you on board. And if you like what you've just seen about digging tunnels and putting foundations into the ground, definitely in the right place. So I wish you best of luck for the rest of the semester.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Shakir. Our next part is going to be presented by Dr. Ala Al-Hawari from Environmental Engineering.
So my name is Ala Al-Hawari. I'm an associate professor at the Department of Civil and Architectural Engineering. I teach courses related to environmental engineering. I need you to know that environmental engineering is one of the branches in civil engineering that is taught within the civil engineering program at Qatar University. As an environmental engineer and as a civil engineer, you will deal with different projects related to treatment and distribution of drinking water. So you will be able to, you will learn and you will be able to design water networks, sewer networks. You will be able to design treatment plants, wastewater treatment plants. You will learn also about the design of municipal solid waste management and hazardous waste management. So all these topics, they undergo an environmental engineer in the civil engineering program. In the next slide, also, it shows you the different possibilities of what an environmental engineer does. As I mentioned, design of landfills, design of wells, whether wells as water resources or wells that are used in construction for dewatering of a construction site. Also, the design of green buildings, and by green buildings, I mean buildings that are environmentally friendly. We have a lot of these buildings all over Doha. And one of the important issues in environmental engineering is to be able to prepare environmental impact assessment reports. Every project that is done in Doha or all over the world has to do an environmental impact assessment study, which is usually done by environmental engineers, civil engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers. It's a combination of work between all these engineering disciplines. So you have to prepare this report in order to get the okays to go ahead and proceed with the different projects. Environmental engineering, you will take several courses related to water and environmental engineering. It starts with fluid mechanics. After fluid mechanics, you will take the hydraulics course. And we have a full course, which is Introduction to Environmental Engineering, plus selected courses. I think we have 2 selected courses. You can take them in the civil engineering program. We have the environmental engineering lab with different equipment. The lab is used for the undergraduate and graduate studies. The faculty members involved in environmental engineering is Professor Riyad Al-Raoush, myself, Ala Al-Hawari, and we have Dr. Arsalan Ayyari. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Akbar. Next, we have Dr. Murad to talk about construction engineering and management.
This is Dr. Murad from the Construction Engineering and Management Division, and I hope all the best for our students and all the faculty members. So I'm going to explain you briefly what we do in construction engineering and management. For any project we are doing, whether it's underground, ground, in the sea, we have to manage those projects. What I mean by managing those projects is we have to see how many people are needed, how about a site layout, how we are going to move our facilities around the site, how we are going to maintain their safety, how we are going to make sure that the construction facility is to the standards we are looking for, and things like this. If you go to the next slide, I'm going to show you some brief things we do in construction management. So whatever our project is, and whether we are the owner or the contractor or the consultant, we need to know the cost of the project because every agency they have a budget and everybody is trying to get their benefit from this cost. So if you are a contractor, you must know how much you are spending. If you are a government agency, you want to know how much of your annual budget will go to the construction sector. At the same time, duration is very critical. Why? Because, for example, now in Qatar, we are getting ready for 2022 World Cup, and we want to finish the projects on time by the time of 2022. So we want to know how long each stadium is going to take, about highways, about hotel construction, and other facilities we are doing. And all these calculations are done by the construction managers, by us, by civil engineers. And we teach you how to calculate the total cost for any structure, any facility. We teach you how to calculate the duration of any construction project. Not only these two, we also teach you many aspects of management skills, like how to work in multi-team environment, because in construction we have architects, we have mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, and most of the time the project manager will be a civil engineer, and we have to manage all these teams together in the same environment. And another thing we work is about safety, and because we are working in some harmful environment, we have to make sure the welfare of all our plus our visitors and plus our construction site for the facilities we are using. And another thing is the quality of projects. So as an owner or as a contractor, we want to make sure that we are following the standards and we are making sure that the system we are building is satisfying what we are required for. And in the few years, building information modeling is becoming popular. What it means is that whatever we do in the construction site, we try to collect the data and try to analyze it and get the project at the optimum level. Okay, we can go to the next slide, please. So what we do in our courses is we teach two undergraduate courses. One is related to construction engineering and management, and the other is related to the contracts course. So we teach you the analytical skills to calculate, to give you background about construction. At the same time, we teach you how to prepare contracts, how to get ready for bidding, how to prepare a bidding package, and how to calculate all these things in one package. We also have some elective courses about scheduling to get you prepared for the real life by teaching you the most popular softwares like Primavera for your real life so that you can include this in your CV. If you go to the next slide, I can show you our faculty members. We have the president is in construction engineering and management area, and we have the dean of engineering in the construction engineering and management area, and myself as a faculty member in this area. So I would like to congratulate all of you for being in Qatar University, and we will be very happy to see you in the civil engineering program and in the construction management program to teach you all these aspects. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Dr. Okan Sereen, specializing specifically in payment materials. And today I will be talking about transportation engineering for the students that hopefully will have them in the future. Transportation engineering is one of a branch of civil engineering that's involved in the planning, design, operation, and maintenance of the safe and efficient transportation systems. We have 5 modes of transportation we are talking about here. Number 1 is the roadways. Number 2 is the railways. Number 3 is airways. Number 4 is waterways. And the 5th one is the pipelines. All are related with transportation engineering, and civil engineers, they deal with all types of the modes of the transportation engineering. For instance, we design the roads here. We build the roads as civil engineers, either a concrete or asphalt pavement on it. We deal with the railways. You can do the geometric design of the railways or build and get involved in the construction of railways. Railways, you can work as a air traffic controller in airports as civil engineers. You can work in waterways for logistics or pipelines construction. What do I mean by pipeline construction is like moving some of the liquid natural gases or petroleum or water supplies, any kind of materials that can be carried with pipelines and are in the basically in the work of civil engineering. Next, please. Pavement engineering is a part of transportation engineering that uses the techniques to design and maintain the flexible, which is asphalt and rigid concrete pavements. And it involves basically the new construction, maintenance, or repairs, or rehabilitation. In these two pictures, you can see two different pavement types. One on the left is called rigid pavement, and the one on the right is called flexible pavement. The difference is the material that's used here. The one on the left, as you see, we start from the sub-base, we start from the subgrade, and then basically the sub-base, then we have the base material, then we have, as you see, on the top concrete, which is Portland cement concrete. Or sometimes you see some black materials on the screen, on the roads, as you see on the right side, which is called an asphalt concrete. That's called a flexible pavement. All these type of constructions are within the work of civil engineering discipline. Next, please. If you start studying in civil engineering program, there are some courses related with transportation engineering that you have to take it. One of them is properties and testing of materials. You will be taking in the second year. You will be taking also a surveying for construction course, which is in the second year. Also, the third year, there is a course called highway engineering. These are the compulsory courses that you need to take it, but we do have some elective courses related with railways, traffic, and payments, which are optional to our students. Next. We have a very good lab facility actually in our department, which covers the materials and asphalt, and which is equipped with very modern equipments. And if you take some courses in civil engineering, you will be using these labs to have hands-on experience. Next. And the faculty members in transportation area and the pavement engineering is myself and Dr. Wael El-Haj Yassin and Dr. Dipti Mooli and Dr. Charita Diaz. They will be supporting our department and working with us. So this is basically it about the transportation engineering. Thank you.
Okay, what I would like to add to what presented by my colleagues regarding the different components of civil engineering, that students throughout the program of civil engineering, they study all these components. And generally speaking, the civil engineer would know about all these components and would be later qualified upon graduation to continue his career dealing with a number of these different components or all of these components. Just giving the audience more information about the civil and architectural engineering department. We've seen about the academic or the faculty staff. Regarding the teaching assistants, we have 6 teaching assistants and 1 lecturer. We have 2 lab technicians, so we have very strong personnel in the Department of Civil and Architectural Engineering, and we benefit from support from an admin support staff. Besides this, and this is something that my colleagues went through, we do have a range of lab and equipment facility, and we have access to computer rooms. But you see in front of you these are the lecture rooms or the labs available for the program of civil engineering. But inshallah, we will be moving to the new building, and we have a new facility, and we have equipment and also new equipment, inshallah, for the new facility. Part of the civil engineering program includes a component on use of software. So part of the facilities are associated with use of computer rooms. Just talking quickly about departmental activities. So it's not just activities within classrooms or within lectures and labs. We do have other activities and other venues for involvement of the students. The students can get involved through student chapters, and well, basically we have strong interaction with the top civil engineering institutions like the American Society of Civil Engineers, like the Institution of Civil Engineers, and the American Concrete Institute, and other major institutions in civil engineering. So those institutes, they are represented by a group of students who form student chapters within the department to do activities and really enrich the student life with activities within civil engineering. We also arrange to invite speakers from time to time. We have open days, we have field trips, we arrange for workshop series, and there are lots of events, and from time to time we organize conferences. I believe that's all. We just wanted to give you some information about the civil engineering program and the Department of Civil and Architectural Engineering. So this really concludes and finish the session. I would like to thank those who attended, and I would like to thank my colleague. I would like to thank Dr. Wael Al-Nahal, Dr. Muhammad Al-Shafiq, Dr. Ala Al-Hawali, Dr. Murad Kundus, and Dr. Rokan Sireen. Thank you for supporting the departmental activities, and also thank you to Engineer Anas Al-Sharaf for his effort in providing the host for this event. Okay, thank you all, and see you inshallah in the near future. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.